Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I hope आप सब अल्लाह के फजल करम से खैरियत से होंगे और आप सबको this रमज़ान बहुत मुबारक हो and stay blessed. Now this topic was left while we were dealing with the prostaglandins. So I have again prepared this recorded presentation for you. So the topic is lipids as a cofactor and signaling molecules. Chapter prostaglandins, chemistry and functions. Now, if we go to the slide, the first question is about NSAID. Now, let me give you some information that sometimes what happens when you go for a long bike ride or you go for the hiking, and for example, if you are go for the bike ride या cycling ride की तरफ आप जाते हैं, you usually end up क्या होता है, getting an ache in your lower back or in neck. So I don't know whether you have this experience or not, but usually when I used to go for the hiking, the two things I felt, one is the backache and other is the neck ache. Now, and sometimes this backache or neck ache was so severe that I used to take medicines. And mostly the medicines which we take, they are NSAID. So NSAID means these are actually the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. And the most common examples are the aspirin, salicylate, Celebrex, diclofenac, Cambia, Cataflam, Voltaren, Zipser, Zorbolex, ibuprofen में include होती हैं Motrin और Advil. Now these painkillers, ठीक है, what is the role of these? Why we take these medicines? Because actually these medicines, these drugs normally reduce the ache, whether it's the backache or it's the neck ache. Acha, because that backache or neck ache is caused by inflammation in the muscles of our lower back in case of backache, and neck in the muscles of the neck if it is a neck ache. Therefore, these anti-inflammatory drugs, which are commonly known as NSAID, and these non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, okay, they are anti-inflammatory. They give you relief from the pain. And the reason why these medications stop that pain or ache, because actually they stop the productions of prostaglandins. So these, if they stop the productions of prostaglandins, it means that these prostaglandins are lipid molecules that help signal inflammation. आपको जो तकलीफ हो रही है वो आपका ब्रेन जिनके थ्रू सिग्नल भेज रहा है वो ये prostaglandins है. So if we stop these prostaglandins, in other words, we can stop the pain further. And to some extent, the production of this inflammation and its effects in the body, which would be the backache hai, neck ache hai, so this is due to the prostaglandins. Now, what are prostaglandins? I have already explained to you in detail. And these prostaglandins fit into a large class of lipids, which is known as non-hydrolysable these lipids. ये जो आपकी medicines हैं, these are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs हैं, and these are the member of the drugs that reduce pain, decreases fever, prevents blood clotting, high doses decreases inflammation. And whenever we used to take any medications, we need to focus on the side effects also. And the side effects depend on the specific drug, but largely include an increased risk of gastrointestinal ulcers and bleeds, heart attack, and kidney diseases. Now, how do these NSAIDs they work? They stop the production of prostaglandins, which is abbreviated as PG12. It's not the 12, it's 1, 2. Now the question is, what are prostaglandins? And for the prostaglandins, we need to go and recall the lipids at a glance. Now next slide में if we go for the lipids at glance, so classification we need to understand the classification. So the by structure, हम structure point of view से इसकी classification को दे रहे हैं, not function point of view से. And so by the structure they are divided into 3 categories. Number 1 is the simple fats, oils, waxes, and steroids are included in simple lipids. Complex में आ जाते हैं phospholipids, सिंगोलिपिड्स, ग्लाइकोलिपिड्स, ओके, और जो इनके डेरिवेटिव्स हैं उनमें आ जाते हैं हार्मोन्स एंड फैट सॉल्युबल विटामिन्स. सो अगर हम गौर से इसको देखें तो हमारे ये जो प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स हैं और ये जो आपके सिग्नल्स हैं ये आपके डेरिवेटिव्स में इंक्लूड होते हैं. अच्छा, उसके बाद दूसरा मोड ऑफ क्लासिफिकेशन है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ वेदर दे अंडरगो हाइड्रोलिसिस रिएक्शंस इन अल्कलाइन सॉल्यूशन. They are further subdivided into 2 categories. Number 1 is the saponifiable lipids, which can be hydrolyzed under alkaline conditions to yield salts of fatty acids. Okay. And number 2 is the non-saponifiable lipids, which do not undergo hydrolysis reactions in alkaline solution. Okay. Next we go to slide number 6. And this is the lipids at a glance. Now let's have this classification that lipids, they are broadly classified into 2 things. Okay. One, saponifiable lipids, which can be hydrolyzed under alkaline conditions. And number 2 is the non-saponifiable lipids. Now these saponifiable lipids, they are further categorized into 2 things. Number 1 is the glycerol esters, which are actually the hydrolysis products, and number 2 is the non-glycerol esters, which are not hydrolysis products. Next slide. And third is phosphoacyl glycerols, and the fourth one is sphingolipids. So these are actually the 4 different subclasses of saponifiable lipids which can be easily hydrolyzed under alkaline conditions. Now switch to non-saponifiable lipids. Now they are 5: steroids, eicosanoids, terpenes, pheromones, and fat soluble vitamins. हमारे जो प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स हैं वो आइकोसाइनॉइड्स में इंक्लूड होते हैं. हमारे स्टीरॉइड्स भी सिग्नल में यूज होते हैं, एंड fat soluble vitamins, which actually act as a cofactors, they are also involved in the act as a signaling molecule. Now we move to this saponifiable lipids. ठीक है, अब नॉन saponifiable lipids में आपके जो चीजें हैं उनको हमने थोड़ा सा चेक करना है कि what does it mean actually. So after having the classification of these non-hydrosable and hydrosable. So if we look at to the point non-hydrosable, so prostaglandins जो हैं, they fit into the kind of category which is known as non-hydrosable. Okay, so हम कहते हैं कि prostaglandins fit into the kind of category of not hydrosable lipids. जो hydrosable आपके lipids हैं, they are further broken down into smaller units by the hydrolysis reactions, and I have told you, give you already the classification. We talk about how the hydrosable functions might. We already know this thing that hydrosable functions, जो saponifiable lipids हैं, they might include energy storage and structural functions. The more important thing is to understand the non-hydrosable lipids, and their main function revolves at least in our body around signaling. So signals just like the prostaglandins. So signals just like the prostaglandins signal the inflammation of backache and neckache. So here is the next is the uh, point. So what I'm trying to say that uh, signals just like the prostaglandins signal the inflammation of backache and neckache. So these prostaglandins are probably the most notable of a biologically active compounds, which are known as eicosanoids. Okay, these are actually known as eicosanoids, and why we call them eicosanoids? Because eicosa means 20 in Greek. So these are compounds that have 20 carbons. So eicosanoids are kind of famous for being local mediators, which means they signal an effect kind of in their immediate environment, and prostaglandins are probably most noteworthy of these eicosanoids, right? Now, uh, let's see some effects of these prostaglandins. Examples of the effects. The prostaglandins stimulate would be inflammation. They also lower your blood pressure, your gastric secretions. They inhibit platelet aggregation, but there are a lot of signals or effects, at least they are signaled by these prostaglandins. So prostaglandins, so they are a signaling lipid. So they have the other functions also, but the major role is the signal. Now let's talk about the other thing, which is known, another signal hormone, which is known as steroids. Now steroid hormones, first of all, we need to understand the classification of hormones. Now chemical classification of hormones. So hormones are chemical messengers that transport signals from one cell to another. So there are four major chemical classes of hormones. Number one is the steroid hormones. Number two is the peptide hormones. Number three is the amino acid derivatives. And number four is the prostaglandins and related compounds. Move to the next slide. We see the structure of steroid hormones. Now, इनका जो basic structure होता है, it includes three, four rings. So basic इनके 4 rings हैं, 3 जो हैं वो 6 membered rings हैं, and 1 is the 5 membered rings. And every steroid has this basic infrastructure, and one steroid is different from the other only by the subsequents. Okay, so this is actually the parental precursor of steroids, और ये example है इसकी cholesterol की. If we go for the IUPAC name, it is cyclopentanoperhydrophenylthrene structure, or very short, styrene. Is that okay? So this is the cholesterol, this is the basic infrastructure, and these are the substituents. Now remember that basic structure is the same, which is built up of 3 6-membered ring and 1 5-membered ring, but the substituents are different to give different kinds of steroids. Okay, so this is the basic structure, right? Then we come to excuse me guys for a moment. Salman, कितने पैसे हुए? Okay. Steroid hormones classes. So steroid hormone classes, if we focus, so these are progestins, glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, androgens, estrogens, and vitamin D. Next slide. Steroid hormones are not water soluble, so they have to be carried in the blood complex to specific binding globulins. So corticosteroid binding globulin carries cortisol, and sex steroid binding globulin carries testosterone and estradiol. So this is the route how they are moved within the body. Steroid hormones play important roles in number one, carbohydrate regulation, which is known as glucocorticoids, mineral balance, which is known as mineral lococorticoids, and the reproductive functions, which is gonadal steroids. Then we go to that steroids. They also play roles in inflammatory responses like stress responses, bone metabolism, cardiovascular fitness, behavior, cognition, and mood. So these are the functions of steroids. So what I have explained to you, that steroids are actually tetracycline lipid, which means they have 4 cyclic rings. Three cyclic rings are 6-membered, and 1 is 5-membered ring. So they all had 4 ring structure, and they differ in their little substituents. Steroids are another non-hydrosoluble lipid and have a signaling effect on our body. So cholesterol would be a steroid. Okay. So if we go to the structures, you can find the structures of testosterone and progesterone examples, but since we are not concerning about the structures in detail, so I didn't put structures over here. कुछ other steroids बहुत important है, which I have already explained to you. Number 1 is the corticosteroids, cortisone and aldosterones. अच्छा, अब इसके बाद हम आ जाते हैं लास्ट टॉपिक के ऊपर, और वो है आपकी फैट soluble vitamins. So this is the another kind of non-hydrolyzable kind of signaling lipid, and it is fat soluble vitamins. Okay, so fat soluble vitamins and mainly function as cofactors. Okay, they mainly act as cofactor, which means that they help some enzyme in our body to perform their particular function. As we don't make these cofactor compounds ourselves within the body, so we have to ingest them to help these enzymes to perform their functions properly. So if we go for the classification, we broadly classified these fat soluble vitamins into 4 categories, and this is number 1 is the vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. So fat soluble vitamins will not be lost when the foods that contain them are cooked, and the body does not need these vitamins every day and stores them in liver and adipose fat tissues, which then which are not used, and they are stored for the further use. So these are actually the structure of vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin K, and so on. Now, if we talk about these vitamins, for example, I talk about the vitamin A. So vitamin A is also known as retinol. It is needed for light sensitivity in our vision, as well as kind of healthy mucous membranes, and couple of other different functions they perform within the body. Next, we move to vitamin D. So vitamin D actually helps to regulate phosphorus and calcium metabolism. So deficiencies can cause a number of, अच्छा, ये है कि calcium metabolism. So their deficiency can cause a number of different bone diseases like rickets and osteoporosis. Next, we move to vitamin E. So vitamin E is actually the antioxidant that help protects our neurological functions. Okay. Now, last but not the least is the vitamin K. So vitamin K regulate the synthesis of glutathione, which helps our blood clot. So a lot can cause some pretty serious bleeding issues if there is deficiency of vitamin K within the body. So all the vitamins A, D, E, and K fit into the broader category again, that is non-hydrolyzable lipids, which primarily function as signaling molecules and cofactors. I hope you understand clearly about the signaling. The title of this, lecture, that is the lipids as a cofactor and signaling molecules. Now, three of them are very important. Number one is the prostaglandins. Number two is the steroids. And number three are the fat soluble vitamins. Now, I'm also uploading the two things along with this presentation. Number one is the assignment, and number two is the quiz. So this quiz is very important. This is the assessment for 30 marks. And I have given you the link, okay? Additional resource. You go through the additional resource very carefully, okay? Um, uh, that's the additional resource from the Khan Academy. And they explain, two diagrams are given to you. Two diagrams are given to you. So please watch watch this, what can I say? Watch this video very carefully, okay? Watch this video very carefully. And then explain those two diagrams, okay? Explain those two diagrams, right? Explain those two diagrams, right? 15 marks for each, and you will only explain if you carefully go through that video, okay? So this is all about the lecture. Now I will upload it, and there is, please guys, try to submit your assignment as well as the quiz by the end of this week, okay? Thank you so much.